welcome to Can You Explain That Bible Book For Me? A show dedicated to explaining Bible books with your host, me. Today, we are jumping into the one and only book, Ecclesiastes, requested by Jake674 Live. So, without a second to lose, let's go back into the Bible. Here we have King Solomon writing Ecclesiastes with the genre of wisdom literature during 935 BC in Jerusalem. He aimed this book at mostly everyone, but particularly at Jews. He wrote 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes talking about how life is meaningless and vanity without God. Let's read it, shall we? Okay, I read it. Here's a summary of every chapter. In chapter 1, Solomon declares that life on earth is vanity. Vanity meaning inflated pride in oneself or one's appearance. Earthly pursuits are largely meaningless. People are born and people die in the endless cycle of earth spinning. History is forgotten and repeated generation after generation after generation. In chapter 2, King Solomon explains that he has tested all the world's offerings and found them worthless. Like that Labubu you just bought recently. Wait, I didn't mean... Anyway, in chapter 3, it says that there is a time for everything, and God has made a time for everything. If we take a look at the next chapter, which is chapter 4, if you don't know, it reads that life is oppressive, and the weak are victims of the powerful. Fame and power are fleeting. Fleeting meaning lasting for a short amount of time. And if we do want to skip a few, we make it to chapter 12. Chapter 12 summary is remember your creator while you're young, before the hardships of old age take their toll. Quoting, fear God and keep his commandments. So the outline of Ecclesiastes is the vanity of basically everything. The whole summary of Ecclesiastes shows the meaninglessness of life without God, the frustrations of life's injustices and uncertainties, the importance of enjoying God's gifts and the present moment, and the final call to fear God and obey him. It really reveals the lack of control we have over our lives and how many little things we take for granted. Anyways, that's conclude. Bishin Shaman. While I was running, I thought of some actual good cross-references that go with Ecclesiastes. First one being Job 28:28. He said to mankind, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to turn from evil is understanding. That definitely cross-referenced, let me think, Ecclesiastes 12:13. Second cross-reference I thought of was Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction, which is again referencing Ecclesiastes 12:13. Last cross-reference I pulled out my brain was from James 1:19. Know this, my beloved brothers. Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. That one referenced Ecclesiastes 5:1. Now that we're back at the studio, you may be wondering, does this foreshadow Jesus? Yes, it does. It foreshadows Jesus by showing in Ecclesiastes that Jesus is the ultimate answer to all our struggles and questions. And that math homework, I still haven't done. It also foreshadows redemption by showing humanity's need for a savior, and the vanity of life, which Jesus Christ ultimately reveals. Jacob Toman says, I've been blessed to preach and teach Ecclesiastes a few times throughout my life, and Ecclesiastes was very helpful as a missionary in thinking through and engaging with the struggles of unbelievers. Philip Scaff says, this wisest man devoted this whole book to a full exposure of this vanity, evidently with no other object than that we might long for that life in which there is no vanity under the sun, but true belief under him who made the sun. Now that we're wrapping up, let's take a look at the applications. The full original meaning of Ecclesiastes was to see that life was meaningless and full of vanity and confusion, and true purpose and satisfaction are found only by fearing God and keeping his commandments. Not by that latest trend, okay? Though, modern day application of Ecclesiastes is finding the joy in the small things, accepting life in general, and focusing on what truly matters beyond wealth and wisdom. Me? How would I apply Ecclesiastes? Well, aren't you sweet for asking? I can apply what Ecclesiastes is saying to my life by being grateful every day, fearing God, focusing on things that aren't gossip and wealth, and maybe not being as arrogant as much. I don't know. Ecclesiastes help me understand that God has a plan and you should trust his plan. Ignoring God and focusing on utter vanities can leave you feeling like everything you have worked for is meaningless. Well, that concludes our show. I hope to help your understanding on Ecclesiastes. Thank you, Jake67 for requesting. Hope to see you guys in the next episode of Can You Explain That Bible Book For Me? So long!